Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to EXJW Diaries. My name is Justin. So let's talk a little bit about wasted time. If you watch my videos long enough, then you know that I view time as our most valuable asset, something that you can spend, but you can never get back. So one of my major internal battles that I had to go through while waking up from the Jehovah's Witnesses was this realization that I had given this organization so much of my time, 15 years of my life, and I felt like I had nothing to show for it. And this feeling that I had given them so much of my time had honestly caused me a lot of anger and frustration and honestly very deep depression. I mean, there was times during my waking up process where I honestly just considered putting myself back to sleep, so to speak, pretending that I never saw this stuff and just continuing my life as a Jehovah's Witness. So if you yourself are in the process of leaving the Witnesses, or maybe you've been out for many years, and maybe you are dealing with these feelings of depression and anger and rage because you have given this organization so much of your time, well, hopefully this video will help you feel a little bit better, at least a little bit better. Because what I want to talk about is some skills that we learned as witnesses that are actually useful. Things that you can use in your new life outside of the Watchtower that can actually help you to get ahead in many ways. So I'm going to give my top 5 picks of skills that we learned as witnesses that can be transferred outside of the witnesses. And I'm sure that there are many, many more skills. So if you can think of one, please drop a comment below, let us know. But for these top 5, these are all skills that anybody who spent any amount of time as an active witness would have been exposed to. So let's see how these skills can actually be used to get you ahead in life now that you're free from the Watchtower. So the first skill that we learned as Jehovah's Witnesses that can definitely be transferred into your new life outside of the witnesses is knowing how to deal with fear of failure and fear of rejection. You know, there are so many people in the world today that have always wanted to do something, and in fact, they have the skills and the natural talent to do it, but they don't do it simply because they are afraid of failing. They are afraid of people rejecting them. Even with people that have already had some success, we still see that they are not immune to this fear of failure. Look at Hollywood. Hollywood nowadays has become a factory of remakes, sequels, and movies that are based on true events. Hardly ever do we see a big budget movie that is actually an original story. And there are many, many more examples out there, but the point is, we live in a world today where there are a lot of people who are afraid to try new things because they are afraid of failure. But as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were dealing with failure and rejection since we were little kids. I mean, how many times has it happened to you that the organization actually produces a magazine that you are actually excited about? And so you get this new magazine and you go through your presentation and you practice it, refine it till it's perfect. And then the day comes when you can finally try it out in the ministry. And so you knock on door after door after door, nobody's home. And then you finally reach somebody, you get halfway through your presentation, and they shut the door on you. I mean, as a Jehovah's Witness, you are told no a whole lot more than you're told yes. In fact, in my case, during my 15 years as a witness, I never had any real success, but I kept trying. Same thing goes for meeting parts. Maybe you had a talk that you were very excited to give, and so you practice it and you practice it. You think you have it perfectly refined. The timing is just right. You're not going to go overtime. You're not going to be too under time. And then the meeting night comes and you get up on stage and it just doesn't come out right. Then you get off the stage, and after the meeting, the elder pulls you aside and gives you some counsel. And your only real choice as a witness after experiencing that failure is to do it again. So you get another talk assignment, and this time you're going to get it right. So now that you're free from the witnesses, if you can find some way to keep that same determination, to keep that same fearlessness when it comes to failure and rejection, then you will have access to levels of success that most people just don't have. Not because they can't have it, but simply because they won't try, because they're so afraid of failing. Now, the second transferable skill that we learned as witnesses is public speaking. And this is kind of a big deal because most people are deathly afraid of public speaking. In fact, it hits the top of the list a lot of times for things that people are most afraid of. But as witnesses, we've been doing public speaking, again, since we were little kids. A lot of us, as soon as we were old enough to know how to read, we were up there on the podium giving our first Bible reading. And it just kept going up and up and up from there. I mean, if you think about it, your average witness has years of experience speaking in front of 100 plus people. And if you had a chance to speak at the assembly or conventions, then you have had a chance to speak in front of thousands of people. Not many people have a chance to do that. And even outside of meetings, our public speaking skills were put to the test out in the ministry work. I mean, just think about it. As a witness, you have to, on a regular basis, go up to a complete stranger's door and talk to them about religion. Now, they say that religion and politics are the two things that you don't talk about when you're first meeting someone. But we were doing exactly that. And again, many of us were doing this as little kids. This is something that would terrify most people, but for us, this was just a normal Saturday morning. Another skill that we learned as Jehovah's Witnesses that perhaps was not always healthy, but can still be useful in certain situations, is the skill of filtering ourselves. Because in that environment, everything that you did, everything that you said, even deciding whether to laugh or not laugh at a certain joke, had to be exactly calculated. Because everything was being judged by your fellow Jehovah's Witnesses. And so you constantly had to put on these different masks as you try to fit in with different crowds, saying some things here, but keeping your mouth shut there. There's certain things that you can talk about with some people, but not with others. There's certain topics that you may bring up when you're with a car group of your friends, but not when you're in a car group full of elders. And really, this skill of filtering ourselves boils down to just knowing how to control our speech. And if you know how to control your speech, you can get farther in life than people that have no filter. I mean, if you are going for a higher position in your company, they're going to need somebody that knows how to control their speech. There's certain things that you say and certain things that you don't say. Another skill that we learned as witnesses is knowing how to deal with criticism. Now look, nobody really likes to deal with criticism, but there's a lot of people out there who, when faced with criticism, will either shut down or lash out. Now, as witnesses, we were getting counseled all the time, sometimes for stupid stuff. And all we could do was just nod our heads and play along. If you think about it, that's a great skill. We know how to take criticism without flying off the handle. When the criticism is not deserved, we know how to just play along. And when the criticism is deserved, we know how to actually apply it and make action steps forward. Great skill. Now, last but not least, a very major skill that we have all learned as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses is the willingness to leave our comfort zone. Most people like to stay where they're comfortable. Most people will not imagine doing anything that could cause them to lose their friends, their family, their community. Most people don't bother to question their belief system. But as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we've had to do all of those things. We've had to question our belief system and tear it down. Many of us have had to leave behind lifelong friends and family members. We've had to lose our entire community, everything that we knew to be normal. And of course, we had to leave our comfort zone. Because let's be honest, for most of us, simply staying as a Jehovah's Witness probably would have been the easier route. I know that's definitely the case for me. I mean, when I left the Witnesses, I was on the upswing in my life as a Jehovah's Witness. I had just given my second public talk. I had the elders talking to me about giving public talks in other congregations. I had more friends that I knew what to deal with. There was never a weekend that I wasn't doing something. So for me, being a Jehovah's Witness was 100% in my comfort zone. To the point where even now I can look back and easily see where my life would be right now had I stayed a Jehovah's Witness. But there's this old saying that says that true growth lies outside of the comfort zone. And I know in my case, that's definitely 1000% true. Who I was as a Jehovah's Witness was limited in a lot of ways. Who I was as a Jehovah's Witness wasn't really living up to my fullest potential. You know, if you think about it, every single major advancement in human history, every major new invention, from the refrigerator to the iPhone, was all made by people who were not afraid to step outside of the comfort zone, not afraid to do things differently. And as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we have already shown that same level of fearlessness. We have already stepped out of the comfort zone in ways that most people will not even dream of. We have already given up things that most people will be too afraid to give up. So this is definitely a skill that can for sure assist us, and for many of us has already assisted us outside of the Watchtower. So those are just a few skills that we learned as Jehovah's Witnesses that can definitely be useful in our new lives outside of the Watchtower. And depending on how you mold your life and how you are able to take advantage of these skills, who knows how far they will be able to take you. So hopefully this video has helped you to feel at least a little bit better if you are feeling depressed or angry or just frustrated with how much time you have given to this organization. Hopefully this video has shown you that there are skills that we learned as witnesses that can be useful outside of the witnesses. You know, even though we learn these skills in a toxic environment, that doesn't mean that we have to throw them away. They can be repurposed and rebuilt to help us get ahead. So if you are feeling a little bit down about giving so much of yourself to this organization, I hope that you can also see that in the midst of that, in the midst of giving so much of yourself to them, you may have also unknowingly given some gifts to yourself. Just a matter of taking advantage of them. So with all that being said, hopefully you feel at least a little bit better, at least a little bit. And hopefully you can see it wasn't all for nothing, you know? So I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your valuable time. Please take it easy on yourself. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.